I woke up to a world hypnotized by its power, and I shielded my eyes. It was so slow that nobody noticed that the tide was rising around our feet. That was an excerpt from the new album Ricochet from politically charged punk band Rise Against, whose career has spanned across 2 decades at this point, and they are certainly no strangers to politically charged music. So today we will be reviewing the lyrics, seeing how they contribute to this culture of resistance, and if you guys like protest music, definitely check out some of our other videos, like and subscribe if you like the vibe, check out the Patreon account for exclusive videos, and blah 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 blah. It's probably fine. And now, let's get started. Starting off with track 1, titled Nod, here we are hitting on topics such as climate change, where time is of the essence, both in terms of time that has already passed, such as the line, standing in water that's been rising before I was born, but also reflecting on the here and now, wondering where all the time went, and also wondering when exactly is that time that we've all been waiting for, which could allude to the time of actually enacting political change or just taking the power back. The song also goes on to describe a barren wasteland, a dead zone where nothing can grow, and we are choking on everything we made, burning through each day, which I thought was an interesting line because of course grappling with everything we've made since the Industrial Revolution, all of that material, all of that pollution has to be somewhere. Kind of like that Bill Burr joke, everything you've ever owned is somewhere. Landfills, the ocean, your mom's basement. But as the song is bringing all this up, it says, if you're hearing what I'm saying, just nod if you understand. Or, in this case, like and subscribe. There's also a jab thrown at the stock market and the idea of continuous growth despite being on a planet with finite resources, saying that expecting to grow to infinity is like building a boat designed to sink. But the shareholders, think of the shareholders! I'm a shareholder. And then there's another line that says, are you saving the world so desperately, or are you holding a gun demanding peace? This line kind of reminds me of that picture where it's like a personification of like the Industrial Revolution holding a gun to a personification of nature, Mother Nature. Overall, the opening track is a pretty solid one. Just nod if you agree. Or, you know, like and subscribe. Let's see how much I can milk that one. I'm already annoyed personally. Track 2 is titled I Want It All, just like I want you all to like and subscribe. No, I'm kidding. But anyways, this song does hit on immigration, or at least there's the possibility of that. I might just be adding my own bias. Not sure. It talks about how if you lock every door or you close every curtain, then I will be jumping your fences and holding them open. It also mentions the promised land, and it also references how the sign of the times is as big as an ocean, meaning that it's just very obvious what's going on. But also the concept of oceans, waves, just rising tides, rising waters. This is like the biggest theme on the album. Just about every song mentions one of those things in some way, shape or form. Liquid, solid, gas. I had some liquid solid gas earlier on the toilet. And speaking of Sign of the Times, I can't say that without mentioning the song Sign of the Times by Immortal Technique. Definitely go check out that song if you want a good revolutionary anthem. It's an absolute banger! Next we have the title track, Ricochet, which overall is a pretty defiant track despite the world being steeped in falsehood and misery. Here we are covering our eyes because we are in love with the lies. But are we even okay? Are you alright? In the immortal words of Kendrick Lamar, we gon' be alright. But the song does acknowledge that we are in fact in trouble because we let things go too far, and that the stains are so deep that even holy water cannot wash them out. But against all odds, despite the circumstances, don't weep, don't cry, stand up, bite down, and bust back. Because as things get worse, as the bullet ricochets, we're going to have to face this reality at some point, so it might as well be now. And for what it's worth, this song actually reminds me of the quote from Ayn Rand that says, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality, which overall I think actually sums up this song pretty well. The next track, Damage Is Done, is all about being sold a lie, ending up on your hands and knees knees, but the damage and the anxiety is already so great that at this point you might as well just burn everything down and just start over. Which is how a lot of people are feeling about the current state of the world right now, but that's another topic for another day. Anyways, we have the next track, Us Against the World, again referencing the power of lies and how some people seek to misdirect you, but eventually you are the one who inherits the crisis. You are the one who has to fight back. You have to try to convince everyone that we are on the wrong path. But just because you're outnumbered, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong. But it also doesn't mean that you're necessarily alone in that endeavor. And we have to remember that the things that we're fighting for are not easily won, and often there's a consequence to standing up. So be sure to, as the song says, read the fine print. And the chorus mentions fighting the symptoms instead of the cure, which unfortunately you see all the time. The song Black Crown doesn't have a whole lot, but it does come with a warning that despite repeated warnings, the world continues to doubt the possibility that the worst is yet to come. Because unfortunately, it is true that no matter how bad things get, they can always get worse. That's why you have to do all you can to ensure that that doesn't happen, because on the flip side, things can also always get better. And that's true for your personal life or even just the bigger picture, micro and macro. And moving down to the next song, Sink Like a Stone. This one's all about those who are a type 2 on the Enneagram scale, the helpers. Those who strive to always do the right thing. They're always taking care of those around them, providing a shoulder to cry on, basically just supporting anyone and everyone however they can, all the time, endlessly. But that can lead to its own detriment, where if you're not careful, you take on the burden of everyone else, and that sticks to you. You're taking that weight off their shoulders and putting it on yours. And if you're not careful, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't pour from an empty pitcher. So eventually, that weight will make you sink like a stone. So just like on a plane when it's going down and they release the oxygen masks, be sure to secure yours first before helping others, because again, you cannot pour from an empty pitcher. So sometimes you just need to make yourself the priority. You need to indulge in some self-care, and then you'll actually be more effective at taking care of everybody, because then you'll have less weight on your shoulders and then you can take on some more. Shout out to all the type 2s though, because we do need more of that, honestly. So we're taking a biblical turn with the track 40 Days, where we are roaming through the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, surviving on bread alone, waiting as the waters rise. There's the waters rising again. Again, super heavy climate change reference, especially the line about knowing that the storm was always on its way and that some people, despite repeated warnings, will not move out of floodplains. And unfortunately, that ignorance or apathy will be costly. But alternatively, it could be more metaphorical in nature, talking about how politically and socially speaking, there's a storm on the horizon that we always knew was on its way. Again, things can always get worse. Next, we have State of Emergency, which is probably my #1 recommended song from the album. I really like this song. It's a very solid track about being blind to our own power, not seeing the good in everyday life. Because we're stuck in this perpetual state of emergency. We have collective anxiety, we're always in this fight or flight mode, and we can't discern what's what. Which is the whole point of what Steve Bannon calls muzzle velocity, where the Trump administration just goes after everything all at once. So it doesn't matter if it's the universities, if it's deploying the National Guard to DC, if it's immigration, if it's tariffs, if it's... Did I say universities? I don't even know. But that's the point. It just generates so many headlines. You can't even keep up with it all. It's like every day is a new crisis. Every day you want to try to counter the false narrative. But of course, every day there's a new one. So it's like you can't even keep up with it all. And again, that's the state of emergency. You're always stuck in this fight or flight. You get this collective anxiety as a society. And it makes it harder to function. It makes it hard to form a genuine resistance because you don't know exactly where where you need the defenses, besides, of course, everywhere. And actually, right in the beginning of this song, there's the line, "When they came, I didn't say a thing, so I was sleeping when they came for me," which is a quote from the famous First They Came poem, which for those unfamiliar with it, it's derived from a post-World War II confession that says, "First they came for the communist, but I did not speak up because I was not communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not Jewish. Then they came for the trade unions. I did not speak out. They came for the Catholics. I did not speak out. And then they came for me, but by then, no one was left to speak up." Which is an incredibly relevant quote that speaks volumes to where we are at now with troop deployments to DC, the rewriting of history, power grabs happening left and right. So just remember that you do have a First Amendment right. See participating locations. Terms and conditions may apply. The song Gold Long Gone is another interesting one, describing an encampment, just a bunch of tents on the side of the street, how those in power are muddying the waters, the water that was once clear, and how we are undergoing a complete dismantling, brick by brick. They are chipping away at the pillars. And the song even says that while some things could be recovered, others will not. There is so much that this song could apply to. It could be Doge or the administration in general. For instance, firing the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, cuts to NOAA and other research, and then other various rather vital parts of the government. Like, I understand the concept of businesses being more efficient than the government, which is generally true in a lot of cases, but if you're someone that really wants corporations to run every aspect of your life, definitely read up on the late 1800s and see if you would want to work in those kind of labor conditions, those kind of hours, buying everything from a company store, and just, think about how long it would take for them to just straight up exploit you, as if they're not already. I mean, you can get it from either a government or a corporation. They can both do the same thing. They both have that potential. It's all about a balance, if you ask me. But anyways, the song also says, "How do we always act surprised when the monsters come to life?" There's also a line about rolling blackout candlelight and an algorithm that we can't fight. And here in the chorus, we get to the song title, "We are digging in the mines for gold long gone," referencing again that we are doing things in a very archaic way, that our methods are outdated, and that the gold is long gone. We've already done everything that we can there, so it's time to move on, do something else with new methods. The song Soldier is an anti-war song, talking about how we will not fight these wars anymore, we won't follow these unlawful orders anymore, and this isn't what we stand for. Overall, a pretty good song, which leads us to the final song of the album, Prize Fighter. This one's actually very similar to the previous song, where it's all about being your own person and refusing to conform to the whims of others, saying that I'm not a horse that you can break, I'm not somebody that you can fence in, I'm not a sideshow in your circus, I'm not a trophy on your shelf, because I don't belong to you, I don't belong to anyone, I am my own person, I am an individual, I'm a human being, goddammit! My life has value! So that concludes the review of this new album from Rise Against, Ricochet. Overall, very good album. Just about every song on the album does contribute to the culture of resistance, so for scoring purposes, it will rank rather high. Now, again, I'm kind of working out the entire, adding a value score to how much an album actually contributes to the culture. So I'm still trying to get the wrinkles out, get the fucking wrinkles out. But anyways, so again, based on the fact that every song does have some kind of contribution, I'm actually going to give this the highest score yet since we started scoring shit. This album, Ricochet, actually gets a 90%. It gets a low A, but again, it does have a lot to say. The number one recommended song from the album will be State of Emergency, with Gold Long Gone being a close runner-up. And of course, the album itself does have a lot to say. Seems like climate change is very prevalent, just talking again about the oceans, the rising tides, how we know that big changes are coming, and we need to be prepared for it. I don't know why I got so bright all of a sudden. Anyways, guys, let me know what you thought about this album. Let me know what you think about Rise Against in general. Let me know which album you want to see me review next. We have a lot of new music coming out, so we will be reviewing those once a week. So definitely like, subscribe if you like the vibe, if you like protest music. Check out the Patreon down below. And until then, guys, stay well, stay safe, stay informed, and we will see you on the next video. Later.